Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Mac.
And today we are joined by one of our favorite guests to have on the podcast. It is Mr. Jonathan Wagner, Mr. JWags. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. It's lovely to be back. I believe this is my first time since the Defying Gravity episode, which
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And once again, need to thank you
Chef's
so
kiss.
much for providing your expertise and voice on that.
Ryan had no idea what he was getting into when he accepted that as like his punishment option.
No, I accepted that one because I'm like, I bet JWags will help me with that. It was a gamble, but it paid off.
Yes, it did.
I'm never gonna play Glinda. I mean, this was a dream. It got to happen. It's wonderful.
There you go. But the reason we have Mr. JWags on with us today, we could have him for any occasion just because it's a Sunday and we want to talk. But he did release a new video that caught our attention on YouTube. It is, what is an Ozeki run really? Parenthetical, or run Ozeki run hyphen the doyo colon episode 111.
Jeez.
Yeah, catchy.
Longer and longer every time.
But I like it.
So
Reminds me of Aqua Teen Hunger Force : movie film for theaters.
Yeah.
We are love and our routine. It's gonna be nice.
That was an excellent meat wad. I loved it.
I don't have many, but I can whip out a good meat wad.
That was excellent.
That came out totally wrong.
Phrasing.
I know it did. I was like, it works.
Don't let the Disney play directors hear you say that one.
Uh-oh.
Actually, no, I'm in the Warner Brothers. I'm in the Wonka, so I'm a Warner Brothers property now.
He can get away with it now.
Everyone knows the Warner Brothers guys. They're just filthy. So yeah, they're fine with that kind of thing.
No issues
That
with
was
whipping
not
out
me,
meat
Mr.
wads.
Warner. That was not me.
But no,
anyway.
we are referring to Mr. JWags. You are now semi-permanently out in southern Utah doing stage plays.
Yes, I'm currently rehearsing the season out at the Tuacahn Amphitheater in Ivins, Utah. I will be out here. The shows start May 13th, and then we go to the end of October, and we're doing 3 shows. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where I'm playing Willy Wonka, and then I have other smaller roles in Tarzan, the musical, from the Disney film, and Hunchback of Notre Dame, the adaptation of the Disney film. So if you are into awesome family entertainment and you're in the Southwest, come on out and check it out. It's tuacahn.org, tuacahn.org.
If you didn't, I was going to say, how can we get these golden tickets?
Ah, boo.
We preempt that. I'm also fully expecting to get chocolate as a gift all year. So I'm trying to slim down because everyone's going to be like, I bet I'll get him some. He'll get it.
Hey, those Utah chocolate truffles are outstanding.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah. The ones that we got from Rod. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
It's
No,
absolutely
I
gorgeous out here. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the state, and it's a beautiful part of the world. But yeah, it's very spread out, and it will be getting very hot.
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, so we're talking like basically you said you're like what, 90 minutes from Vegas or so?
90 minutes from Vegas, and then we're about 3 hours from Salt Lake. We're just at the southwest corner of the state where it dips into like Nevada, Arizona area. Right near
Gotcha.
Ohio.
The extreme heat region.
Yeah, I always think like mountains and forests when I think of Utah, but no, you're just in the desert.
Yeah.
Just middle of
We're
nowhere, right?
Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Much like the desert that the Ozeki rank has been
Hey!
for the past
Hey!
Oh, that's
Bring it
a
back.
segue.
So the
That's
the
why Ryan drives the
conventional-
bus.
That's right. The conventional was, we don't need to know about Mr. JWags. Who cares?
He's old
this is
news. He's
Sumo
been on the show
podcast.
before.
Yeah. But no. So the conventional wisdom we've been working with ever since we've started watching sumo is an Ozeki run means 33 wins over 3 basho. You do that, boom, you're in at Ozeki. Is that the case, Mr. JWags?
This is in fact not the case, and we've been yeah.
Gasp, you
Gas-
should.
Gaspoo.
anytime I go onto like the sumo subreddits or like any of the message boards of the discords, it's like people are always arguing. It's just like, this is what Ozeki's getting, and someone's like, but this happened back in 1959.
Oh.
I just wanted to sort of dive in as I do. It's like, well, has anyone looked this up? And like, well, yes, Tachi I had. So
well,
I looked at those articles, and then I also they were taking sort of Ozeki promotions from 1958, the beginning of the 6 basho a year system. But I sort of did it 1958, and then I did another parallel data set going from 1987, which is when we had the first non-Japanese Ozeki Konishiki. And also at the same time, it was a year before the year of the Futahaguro scandal. So I think those two events were sort of seismic events in sumo that we never really take into account when we're talking about eras of sumo.
A bit of the tightening of the screws for what it takes to
time.
get promoted to those upper
big
ranks.
time.
That was one of my favorite bonus episodes that we did, though, when we went into the history on Futahaguro.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the one where anytime someone said the Y word, they got shot with a Nerf gun, because you never won a show. So yeah, so nobody's allowed to say it during the episode.
But, yeah. So the idea I was saying was there any sort of tightening of the screws? Was there a harder standard? And I found that yes, there. In fact, it did get harder to have an Ozeki run after that happened. So I've been sort of saying, why are we looking back to 1958 when we have so much more recent history to be able to jump off of and say, well, this is actually in the past 3 generations of sumo. This has been the standard. And we found there are some things that do sort of hold, but they are not what we have been told. we're the criteria. So I'm like, let's actually look at the stats and say, this is what they did. So like I said, in the video, I fully say, I can only say what has happened. If something unprecedented happens in the future, I cannot predict that.
And that's what we're here for.
Indeed.
Baseless speculation. Well,
Prognostication.
Semi-baseless, I guess, because you've done the homework.
What I found out is that, in fact, we've had a bunch of people who did not get 33 wins, but the majority of those happened pre-1987. Since 1987, the bar has been 32 or above. There have been a number of wrestlers who made it up with 32, including like Asanoyama and Shodai. But the difference I did see was that the people who make it at 32 largely did it all in the Sanyaku, as opposed to some of the recent people started in the Maegashira ranks. You can start as low as Maegashira 4-ish, but you have to be in the joy to start an Ozeki run. And then I found out that, yes, you cannot have any losing records. There have been cases of losing records in modern sumo, but they were all pre-1987. The first basho can be at Maegashira 4 or above. The second basho has to be Komasubi or above. And the last basho, everything since, I think, 1938, the last basho has to be from Sekiwake and 10 plus wins.
Okay.
So we're looking
at guarantee promotion, even if you get all those things.
Yeah. So
you
like right
up to 35 wins for it to be guaranteed.
But those are the minimum requirements.
Yes.
So right now we'd be looking at somebody like Kiri Bayama. He's got I believe 23 wins over the past 2 basho. If he were to get, say, 9 wins, that would get him to 32 wins over 3 consecutive basho. All of them would be from the Sanyaku ranks, is what we're kind of looking at for the 32 win threshold, as opposed to like a 33 or above threshold. But since if he only got 9 wins, you don't think that would result in a promotion for Kiri Bayama? Well, based on the data.
Based on that.
It would be inconsistent with the current data, but we are also approaching a possibly unprecedented time when we actually have to start field promoting Ozeki, and that's why I wanted to get this on the record before this upcoming tournament.
Yeah, because if Takakeisho goes 7 wins or less this next basho, and Kiri Bayama and Daisho kind of S the bed a little bit, whatever happens to fill that Ozeki hole cannot be used in future precedents.
No.
Yeah. I think it would be really funny, like the way that we kind of like half demote a Yokozuna on the Bansuke. They count as like their own rank, but also the Ozeki. I think it'd be funny if they did something like vice versa. Like you're promoted, but not really. Like you're a Sekiwake Ozeki. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that was the primary case that Tachi was making 2 tournaments ago, saying we should immediately promote Takakeisho because if he gets hurt, we're really screwed.
Yeah.
That way we're guaranteed 2 Yokozuna Ozeki.
Lo and behold.
I mean, like it's just one of those things where we have these guys who have the talent every few tournaments, or we have people who can like get that one tournament, but is getting the 3 in a row up in the Sanyaku. And I'm really worried about this upcoming Bansuke. Not worried, but I don't think there's so much talent returning to Makauchi next tournament, because Terunofuji is going to be back, we hope, at reasonable strength. Takakeisho, hopefully at reasonable strength. Asanoyama and Ichinojo are both coming back up. And if they have really great first weeks, they're going to get promoted up at the end. And I expect them to do reasonably well, like probably at like the high double digits, like low single digits, because they ended up doing really well. So I'm seeing how high up they're going to put these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, shifting over a little bit to Bansuke, like I think I have them promoted lower than most people predicted, because I got them at Maegashira 13, just because I'm treating them as if they were anybody else being promoted, not a former Ozeki and 2 former Yusho winners.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility at all for them to be ranked like Maegashira 8, Maegashira 9, somewhere in there. But I think for at least for this Basho, our group of Ozeki hopefuls, Kiribayama, Daisho, even on the outskirts of that, Hoshoryu, Wakamoto Haru, should be safe from Asanoyama and Ichinojo, unless those guys are involved in the Yusho race and they kind of need to be faced up against the Sanyaku Rikshi.
Yeah, why don't we sorry, go ahead.
Well, and that's why I think that they might try to promote them a bit higher, because I think they're going to try to want to avoid the Abi problems. Like, we're going to put them down to the bottom of the Bansuke. They're going to clean house the first week and then squeak through some Sanyaku matches and win with 12 wins.
Yeah. So I guess just to put it in perspective, why don't we talk about the 4 guys? And you brought them up briefly on your video as well, but the 4 guys that are at least a maybe to get Ozeki after the May tournament. Starting with, why don't we start with the closest? So we talked about Kiribayama. He's coming in at 23 wins. He got 11 wins at Komusubi, 12 wins, and a Yusho at Sekiwake. So that puts him at 23. By your math, by your rules, he's on pace to meet all of these if he gets at least 10 wins. 10 wins would put him at 33. Yes, the bar may be at 32, but that would mean that he would only to get 32. That would only mean 9 wins.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
I think 10 wins gets him Ozeki, and I think
a double-digit win.
And that's been stated by Hakaku Oyakata.
Oh, it has. Okay, cool.
Yes, yeah. He has said if Kiribayama gets 10 wins this upcoming Basho, he is promoted to Ozeki.
Excellent.
Outstanding.
Well, then that one is easy.
He's also
next.
So the next one,
he's got a great resume. He's got a Junior show, Yusho, 2 Gino shows. It's like I was a little surprised there was less consideration in the last tournament. I mean, he had the 2 Fusen, and I think that was really the thing that did it.
Yep.
Yeah. But like I said, if we go back to 1962, we could see.
Yeah.
If we go back to 1914, the son of Raiden came forth.
Yeah, it's almost like a double-edged sword having so much data. Because there's
kind of is.
always going to be an exception when you have like 300 years of every single match recorded somewhere.
There was someone one of my commenters pointed this out. Like, there was someone in the 1800s named Nishikigi who had an 0-7 Kyujo at Komusubi and then was promoted to Ozeki and then went 0-7 at Ozeki Kyujo. It's like, okay.
What is?
Yeah. Does that tell anything about current sumo?
No. They didn't even have Yusho back then.
Yeah.
No. They didn't even have Yokozuna back then.
Also, yes.
Okay. Next,
They
most
didn't know
likely
what they were doing.
Next.
or next closest. Let's say I think Daisho would fill the second closest here.
By number of wins, yes.
By number of
Daisho
wins, yes.
would be second closest, because he had 10 wins back in January. He had 12 wins in the June Yusho this previous Basho. So that puts him at 22, which theoretically 11 wins gets him to 33 over 3. But the thing that could be holding Daisho back is the fact that he would have started the run as a Maegashira, and I don't know what the stats are for the Maegashira that have an Ozeki run, or where your run starts as a Maegashira.
Well, you're in luck because our guest today.
We've had 2 since 1987. It was
Tochinoshin
and Tochinoshin.
Okay.
Terunofuji in 2015.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
The OG run. Do you know how many wins? I know Tochinoshin was insane. He had like 37, and that was undeniable. Do you know how many Terano Fuji had in
33.
his? So it
33.
was 33. Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if they would set the bar a little bit higher for if you're starting from Maegashira.
Well, I think they do set it a bit higher, but in this case, I think since Daisho does have a record of being in the Sanyaku, he's essentially been in the Joy and Sanyaku for 3 straight years now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
pushing 30, but he's not quite there yet. But this might be his last chance to sort of do something like that. I would not be mad if he won 10, got 32, and then him and Kiribayama were both promoted after, because I think they really, really need 2 healthy Ozeki.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I'm just
he
not excited with Daisho, and then that's my own personal problem. It's just he
Excited
doesn't.
about Koei-Do. Like,
He's
who's excited
consistent, but he just doesn't. He just doesn't do anything for me.
and I mean, like, that's fair, but like I don't think that is a factor here.
No, it's just I'm not excited for that one. The
Yes,
other
yeah.
3, I'm like, oh hell yes, but this one I'm like,
I mean, to be honest, I'm not super psyched about like Asanoyama has never like stirred my passion as a wrestler. I think he's an excellent wrestler, but it's just like his style isn't like, yeah, I got the flair. Same with Wakamoto Haru. It's like they're very meat and potatoes wrestlers who
Now
just
you
get
shut
the
up.
job done.
I'm with you on the Asanoyama thing. You shut up about Wakamoto Haru.
Ryan already lost
the Uchari
Wakatakakage,
King.
so he needs something.
Jesus.
Yeah, I lost not the elder, the youngest
The
Waka
youngest.
brother. So I'm going to transfer a lot of that love over to the elder Waka brother here. But no,
Well, let us not forget that Wakamoto Haru is a month older than Daisho.
Oh,
yeah, but
good point.
he's more exciting. He's
he's approaching 30.
We're
he's the
far past
Uchari
logic
King.
now, JWags.
Yeah.
I'm just
When you
saying in
can
terms
whip out 1 or 2 Uchari per basho, that's gonna vault you over Daisho in every sense of the word.
Literally in some cases.
Well, I think his style is a lot more conducive to consistency. The question is I just think that we're at a point where if he were in the Banzai at the same level of talent 4 years ago, like he would be a low Maegashira. But just right now, I feel like the Banzai is a bit depressed, and just every stat I've managed to come up with was like, how can we tell throughout like the different eras what is what? And one of the major things is like, how many Maegashira Yusho are you having? And we've been having a ton of them. How many 12-win Yusho are you having? We're having a ton of them. And that doesn't tell me that the Banzai's gotten exponentially stronger since Hakuho just retired and was winning Zensho Yushos.
Yeah.
So I think Wakamoto Haru is a super solid wrestler. It's just I'm very surprised at every tournament he keeps just getting double-digit wins, because I don't see him with that sort of power, and I don't see him with that sort of go-to move like Tochinoshin had. It's like, get that left-hand grip, or like,
And lift him out. We're done.
the Abizumo. It's like he doesn't have that thing where it's like, that's my thing. It's just like, I'm just an excellent fundamental sumo wrestler.
yeah. I mean, the
Hooray.
Uchari can't really be a signature move, or I mean, you can't really like plan for it. It's kind of like I managed to save this disaster kind of a move.
I staved off defeat with a rare
regardless, though,
Kimarite.
Regardless, though, Wakamoto Haru coming in with 20 wins over the last 2 basho. And same with Daisho. Both those guys were Komosubi this last time. Wakamoto Haru with 11 wins, Daisho with 12. Ryan, Mr. Bansuke, is there any doubt that those guys are going to be ranked at Sekiwake?
No. Wakamoto Haru, Daisho, Hoshoryu, Kiribayama. I would be floored if we did not have those 4 as Sekiwake in this upcoming basho.
And I know we talked about that a little bit in your Bansuke prediction, but because last basho as Sekiwake is one of the rules here, I just wanted to just wanted to cover that real quick. So yeah,
it would literally be the first time in history that
Sure.
if Daisho or Wakamoto Haru was not promoted to Sekiwake, it'd be the first time in history, all of sumo history, even going back before 1987 and 1958, that a Komosubi with 11 or more wins was not promoted to Sekiwake.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Daisho will be at 22, which means he kind of needs just 10-ish, probably.
11.
Probably should
Seal
have
it.
more than 10, but 10 would be like the minimum to be potential. Wakamoto Haru, on the other hand, coming in at 20, he's going to need at least like 12 wins minimum, I think, to get a promotion. Would you guys agree there?
He needs minimum. He needs to be in the Yusho race. Like it. day 15, like if he's going in with the possibility to get 12 wins and he gets 12 wins in a playoff, we could talk. But he also doesn't have the resume he doesn't even have the resume Hoshoryu has. So
True.
I think he's sort of the newest one, and like after the Mitaka Yumi incident, I think the one they might be worried about in terms of can this guy excel up here, he's the one who doesn't have as much track record.
Sure.
Yeah, he's the newbie to the Sanyaku ranks, and I think it's all it'd have to be something to do more research on, but I feel like you have a bit stricter promotion requirements if like this is your first time up there. Like I feel like you kind of get benefit of a doubt if you've been in Sekiwake Komusubi a few times before, but this being Wakamoto Haru's kind of first trip up there, his first 3 basho in the Sanyaku, if he only got to 32, is that enough for them to say, all right, yeah, you could be Ozeki, or do they want to see more from you, a little bit more consistency?
I think ideally they would love to see that, but also we're in a world like the variable is Taka Keisho. If Taka Keisho drops out, then it's just who's the best, get him up there.
Yeah.
See what we can do. Because like I think Hoshoryu has a decent shot. Like if the first 3 guys crap the bed and Hoshoryu gets 31 and like a Jun Yusho, he might be the guy, because that would have been his 8th consecutive Kachikoshi in the Sanyaku.
Yeah, he's coming in with 20, or excuse me, with 18. So he's got the furthest road. Potentially, he would need 14 wins to get to that line of 32. But like, that's still, I don't know. I feel like with all 4 of these guys, the one thing we could probably say, is that a Yusho would just about do it. Hoshoryu could potentially get a Yusho without getting to 32.
Yeah, like I think if we see a 12-3 Hoshoryu Yusho, I think one more.
And that's because of his consistency. That's because of all his Kachikoshis being up there at the top, right? That's what you're referring to by resume when you say that, JWags?
He also has, I believe he has 2 special prizes. And if we remember the 8 and 7, he got hurt, came back to get his Kachikoshi. And they generally like that when you can come back from injury and still do the
and win on day 15 via a hair pull to get an 8 and 7 record.
Okay.
It didn't have to be pretty, okay?
And Henkas don't count once the Basho's over.
That's right.
So two things I want to bring up here is you say I agree with you. The sumo association would definitely say, wow, Hoshoryu, you came back from injury to get your Kachikoshi. That's great. Same with like, hey, Hoshoryu, you've been in the Sanyaku for so long. That's great. Do you have, is that something you saw any pattern of maybe a guy catches a break on getting promoted to Ozeki with that kind of history? Or is that something that's mostly just speculation on our part here? It's
something I've actually seen more in the Yokozuna realm, because I'm now working on a Yokozuna equivalent of the episode I just did. Is that sometimes you'll see 2-run Ozeki runs that don't make sense, and you have to go the one back of that. And then you see like, oh, that Yokozuna came off a dominant Yusho, had kind of a crappy tournament, and then had another excellent tournament, and then they got promoted. With Hoshoryu, this would be the case. He had like an 11-4 Gino show, had the Kyujo tournament, still got Kachikoshi, and then got the 10 this time. So it's like, if we're counting, it's like, well, if he had been healthy, he still would have gotten 10 wins there if he hadn't like pulled out and been hurt, and he still came back and showed the fighting spirit. Even when he was hurt, we can still trust him to do his best at the top of the ranks.
Sure.
It's a little like Asanoyama, because Asanoyama never got 12 wins on his run, I don't think, because he got 12 for his Yusho, but his Yusho was not part of his Ozeki run.
Right. Yeah, he was like, he got like Maegashira 8 or something for
4 times in a row. And they're like, we can trust you up here. Get up there, kid. I think it's just a matter of, will this guy not crap the bed if we immediately promote him to Ozeki, Mitaka Yumi style?
Like, ouch.
That
you had to go there.
But he's not wrong.
No, you're right. But like, ow.
And that was one when he was promoted. We were all like, all right, that's a safe Ozeki for years. Like, when is Mitaka Yumi losing back-to-back bashos? Like this, he's broken. We've got
how
over
wrong
it, but
we were.
He's broken in some way, shape, or form.
It's just, I mean, like, there are so many times he could have been promoted over the years. It's just like they finally promoted him during his literal last gasp attempt at doing it.
Yeah.
We just know with the history of hindsight, that was it. That was the last great sumo we're probably going to see out of Mitaka Yumi.
Unless he pulls a Shodai where all pressure is off of him, and now he's like, hey, I don't have to try. Guess what I get to do now? I get to completely wreck house.
I mean, all pressure's been off of him for a couple of basho. He's been Maegashira for the past 2 bashos, and they've still been a 7 and 8, and then this 4 and 11.
I think with Shodai, my hypothesis is that that's partially him still recovering from COVID, and so it doesn't make sense that he'd be leaping up and like the yo-yoing effect of Shoto. And I honestly don't think I don't think he overthinks things that much. Oh, I have so much pressure. I need to work through all these issues. I think it's like, ooh, get in the ring. Ooh, hello, sir. Like, I have a feeling that's more of the idea of the match. What's going to happen today?
This guy's hitting me. What?
Oh, was this a touchy eye? How do I respond?
Yeah. And then sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses, but he's still relatively healthy, other than I think the fact that like he has no joint injuries that I'm worried about when I say that. But if it's a matter of just like, oh, every other tournament we have no idea what his energy level is going to be, then that explains, I think, a lot more of his past year.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
How old is Shodai?
I think he's 30. Let me check.
How old does Shodai look?
31.
Yeah,
31.
Because every time I see Shodai is like over the age of like 24, it shocks me just because he has the biggest baby face of anybody in sumo. Like
Ura has the biggest baby face. Come on.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. But
especially when he smiles, it's like, oh, look at that.
Shodai doesn't look like a 31-year-old.
He has that constant childlike look of wonder every time he enters the ring. He has that mawashi. Like, remember we had that baby blue mawashi for like a decade, and it was getting real nasty by the end.
Yeah.
Just
The
visible,
pink looks
like,
good on him, though.
hopefully coffee stains, you know.
Yeah.
When I found out they're never washed, I'm like, oh God,
No.
everything is wrong.
Well, ideally, you wash the rikshi that's underneath the mawashi frequently, even if the mawashi itself doesn't get washed. But I don't know.
You're right.
I don't know
I
the full
shower every
customs.
day. I'm gonna stop doing my laundry.
Yeah. I said ideally. I'm not saying it solves the whole thing, but
Technically, my body's the cleanest thing in the world when I get out of the shower, so I should never need to wash a towel.
that's a good point.
Oh,
There you go.
God. I don't like this logic. I don't like it.
And
Why do I
there's
wash
the
both sides of the plate. I only use the top.
Ah.
there you go. That's the quote we're taking for
JWags.
JWags. Oh,
Great, and
man.
I'll use you raised it to a D- as my blurb from you guys on my JWag raised it to a D-. Thank you.
Passing.
Passing.
The gentleman's F.
So I had we've talked a little bit about the guys that that are potentially on the cusp here. What in your research going back to all the way back to the 50s, what is the weirdest Ozeki run you found? What was the one that made you like question the rules or do extra research to figure out what the heck was going on there?
Well, it was one. The weirdest ones were sort of. I'd already sort of gone over in the Tamano Umi episode. Let's see, I haven't checked it out. It's a great one. Going back when it was when Taiho was about to retire, and they were worried they didn't have someone else coming up, so they like sort of double promoted. Then Tamano Umi, and then Kitano Fuji, and Kitano Fuji had 28 wins, and Tamano Umi had 30 wins but 2 Fusen. And just the idea of them promoting 2 people with 28 wins right now, just like the internet would explode. And considering both of them then went on to become rather successful Yokozuna, it's like, well, clearly they knew what they were doing, so we can just trust the process.
Like, hey, wait, that worked?
Yeah.
It actually worked. Tamano Umi had one of the best 2-year runs of any Yokozuna and then died.
Oh. I don't know that story.
That's bad.
Yes, I do a whole episode just going through it, and it's a very tragic tale. But we've had 2 Yokozuna die in office, and both of them died of appendicitis.
Oh, jeez. Oh, dear.
Wow, really? What kind of time frame are we talking? You said it was around Taiho, so are we talking like 60s?
I think it was like 71.
Okay.
Yeah, around there. It was early 70s when it happened. As I go through, I've hypothesized in the episode that the death of Tamano Umi actually materially affected Kitano Fuji's career and probably led directly to the promotion of Koto Zakura, who probably would not have been promoted in the sort of Wajima, Kitano Umi, Kitano Fuji era.
Gotcha.
And
That's
Koto Zakura
fascinating. I gotta go
would
check
be
that one out.
grandfather of our current Koto no Waka.
Maybe? No, I thought, was he Kotozakura or was he also Koto no Waka? Or is that his dad?
Because I believe if Koto no Waka gets promoted to Ozeki, I think he said he's going to change his Shikona to Kotozakura.
Okay.
So I believe that's the lineage there.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm not up on the triple the lineage except for
Yeah,
The grandfather.
we go back generate the son of Raiden rose from
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been doing this long enough and there's been enough wrestlers coming and going. I can basically remember 1 to 2 fun facts about guys when they pop up new. Kota no Waka is still in that zone for me where I don't really know enough about him yet.
well, he's coming off an 8-7 and now a 9-7 or a 9-6 at both at Komasubi. So he's sort of at that Wakamoto Haru
Bubble.
line, but he's younger, like by 4 years.
Mhm.
So I'm a huge aging curve like proponent here. I'm like, where are we in the aging curve? And that's why I'm like, I don't think Hoshodi is going to get it at this tournament, but he's probably going to be an Ozeki by the end of the year, as long as there's no catastrophic injury.
Yeah, as long as we don't get a
Please.
Wakataka Kage situation where we
Yeah.
recently learned he's going to be out for, I think, minimum 8 months, more likely a year. So
Yeah.
goodbye
Breaks my
all
heart.
Ozeki hopes to Wakataka Kage. Oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely
it breaks my heart
devastating.
that if he'd just gotten one more win, he would have just staved off just that extra little bit of demotion. Just like
Mhm.
Asano Yama, if he had just gotten that 8th win before suspension, he would have had he'd be in Makauchi by now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just there are certain specific single matches that could have just changed the history of like sumo by just
The course.
So we've talked about this current wave of 4 Rikishi that are really on the cusp of Ozeki within Kiribayama Daisho could happen next basho. Hoshoryu Wakamoto Haru, probably 2 bashos away. But all of them have been floated out there by Hikaku Oyakata, the chairman of the JSA, as potential Ozeki. Who are you looking at beyond those that could kind of step up by the end of 2023, 2024 to take the Ozeki rank should these 4 not make it and then just create a wall of like 4 or 5 Ozeki?
So we're talking about like just a year, so like between now and March next year.
Sure, yeah, let's go with that.
Then I think that number 1 would be Kota no Waka. I think that he's in the best position right now. He's got the combination of youth, pedigree, I guess, and sumo body. The only thing I don't like about his body is that he's got very long legs. Not as long as Hokuseiho, but like the higher carriaged Rikishi have the higher center of gravity. It's unless you have the sheer amount of ballast that Ichinojo has in his like legs and junk in the trunk, like he can just stand there and you got to lift all the body. But if you have like the Abi egg on legs sort of thing, it's easier to just lift and pull the guy out. The only guy I've really seen with super long legs do very well is Terunofuji, and we see how healthy he is. So
Yeah.
Akebono was also
Akebono,
noted
yep.
early in his career. That was one of the things working against him. Obviously, he was huge.
He
was on
figured
the
it
level
out.
of
He was fine.
exactly. He did all
was
right.
fine.
But no, I mean, he was also on the level of like an Ichinojo big kind of guy. Like even though he did have the long legs, but yeah, I can see that being something that kind of works again, even if it's not enough to keep him down long term. It's at least something working against him. Is that what you're saying?
It's a double-edged sword, and once you hit any point in sumo in any of the extremes, it works against you. It's like why Aurora wasn't going to work, because it's like he can barely move. The dude's 700 pounds. Like we're just gonna run around till he gets tired and then push him in the back. And like Hokuseiho, like he's Darth Vader sized, and that's awesome to look at. But it's also most wrestlers are getting him at shoulder level, and so they barely have to move to like control the center of his gravity.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's actually going to be one of those things, like, unless you are a Koto Oshu type who was much skinnier and he had a lot more, I think, lateral mobility than right now Hokuseiho has shown, he's going to get sort of, he looks a little mummy-ish, and he needs to be able to like get around some guys, and like there are going to be guys who leg pick him to death. I just
Oh, God help him if he ever runs into Tetsuyoshi.
Ooh. Well,
Oh, I don't
Terutsuyoshi
think
has
we're
to make his way back up first.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's that worried about Terutsuyoshi right now.
Yeah.
No.
But like, yeah, the Ozeki run I would love to see is Midori Fuji. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Little guy. Come on, little guy.
I love his spirit. I love the fact that it just like he lost 5 in a row, but he was in every one of those matches down the stretch, and I didn't like it. He shouldn't have been ashamed for losing the last 5. He's got a ceiling on his sumo, but I don't think he's ever going to make it. Part of me's holding out for Abi, but I don't think it. I think if Daisho can be on an Ozeki run, there's no reason Abi can't be.
Yeah, I was big on Abi last year, and I've kind of just fully pumped the brakes on any hopes for Abi to actually do anything. Like when he came back 12-3, 12-3, it's like, yeah, he was doing it down in the Maegashira ranks, but like that's kind of what you would expect like Asanoyama to do when he comes back. And we all think Asanoyama is going to go on probably an Ozeki run when he comes back. So, and like the list of people who had won back-to-back 12 wins as a Maegashira is a very high caliber list, and now Abi.
And Abi, yeah.
Yeah. But he's just shown again and again, once he gets into the Joy, once he gets into the Sanyaku, 7 to 9 wins is about his level. So I'm kind of done with Ozeki Abi.
I think it's kind of funny how that most wrestlers, you have a general gist of like, if this guy isn't hurt, he's probably around this rank, right? Like that most guys will have some sort of ceiling that they'll go over a couple times every now and then. Nishikigi will get up into the single digit Maegashira somehow.
I don't understand.
But then he goes back down, it balances out. And I just think it's wild how Abi has like the firmest, most clear to see defined ceiling. Like he will just wreck house until he gets up there, and then it's just like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
Is a guy I could see going, like getting this 9 and 6, having one of those like Daisho / Ichinojo / like Abi records where it's just like bam, then I got a 12 and I got another 10. Then I think we'd have an idea, because he does hang out in the top ranks, and certain people do have a very difficult time with the sumo. And I think he's like, with age, he's like, the happy feet has gone away. His defense has fundamentally gotten better since he was sent down and came back up. So I think that even though he is 28, there still is mental growth that is possible for Abi. I know that might be right, but I think he might actually, with a little extra doyo time, and just, I'm not quite sure the young group is quite ready to jump ahead of him yet, but I think this next Bansake is going to be very hard on Abi Zumo. So we will see. I'm actually expecting Abi to get like 7 wins next tournament.
Ooh.
I just think that the top of the Bansake is going to be a lot tougher, and it's.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And
you'll have Takayasu back up there in the mix. You'll have Kinbozan is kind of
Midori Fuji. Kinbozan will be up around Maegashira 5.
List.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about him a little bit? Because I mean, he's new. I enjoyed watching him for the first time. I thought it was really funny seeing brand name and Walmart brand of the same wrestler get promoted at the same time in Kinbozan and Bushozan. It was very clearly like we have Kinbozan at home, kind of the that meme.
Or Bushozan. Bushozan.
What? No, that's what I mean. Like Kinbozan is like I want Kinbozan. It's like, well, we have Kinbozan at home.
That's okay. Yeah, I got you.
Meme, guys. He was memeing you.
I was memeing. Come on, keep up.
Well, I was just confused because I used that same exact meme to describe Bushozan as Takakeisho at home, based on their fighting style.
Yeah, maybe it's like name brand, then it's store brand, then it's Dollar Tree brand or something like that. Anyways, though,
I have Hidenoumi as store brand Takakeisho. Ooh, Hiradoumi. Sorry,
Hiradoumi.
But anyways, Kinbozan, what are your thoughts on seeing him up in the top division now?
I'm very excited because I don't think he's anywhere near his ceiling right now. But we are forgetting that he is going to be 26 before the July tournament. He's older than we think he is, and I think a lot of that's just like his body he's developed. He's basically at his sumo peak. Maybe he's got another little bump to make physically, but I think the fact that he does have a tiny bit of physical growth left probably, and the fact that he still has to get a mental book on all the guys above him right at the time where I think a lot of the top division isn't really. I don't see a lot of improvement in the top ranks, with the possible exception of Kotonowaka and Hoshoryu are the only guys I see. You guys got to jump probably, and everyone else like you're at where you're at. So I would expect Kinbozan to make at least Komusubi by the end of the year.
There you go. Yeah, he's
where he goes from there, no idea.
Yeah, he's only been in sumo less than 2 years here, but he's a university guy. So yeah, he was 22, 23 when he started in 2021. So yeah, he got a late start, but yeah, he just like with a lot of those guys that get the Tsukidashi, the bump up the rankings for their first tournament, he has rocketed up so far. So yeah, it's going to
Actually,
be. Go ahead.
his rise actually reminds me the most of Shodai, who's just like, because Shodai was supposed to get Tsukedashi, and then he went back to school, did not win the Yokozuna that year, and had to start at the bottom, and then it's shot straight up. So,
Sure.
And that, yeah, how much, like, like, yeah, he was in Juryo in like 7 tournaments going from the bottom.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty nuts.
Yeah,
what
and
his
Shodai's
first losing record was
record.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, go ahead, Ryan. You
They're
got
looking
there
at the
same
same
time,
stat.
maybe a
Yep,
little ahead of
his
me.
first losing record was over 2 years in, and it was at Maegashira 2, a 6-9 record. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of what we're looking at with Keen Bozan right now. Has yet to have a losing record. I've got him slotted in at being Maegashira 5 in the upcoming Basho. He'll be in that range, and so we'll see how long he can keep it going. But obviously, once he gets into the joy, I think for Keen Bozan, that's probably where reality will hit him a little bit. But that doesn't mean he can't hang around there. It just probably means we're not going to keep seeing the freight train straight to the top.
Right.
I don't see anyone who's got that sort of like the Hakuho Asashoryu sort of like, I'm a Yokozuna by 24. Like, I don't see anyone on the Bansuke who's got that except maybe Ochi.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or this Nakamura guy that's coming in that apparently is better than Ochi, and he's gonna be starting at Makushita 10 this upcoming Basho.
Let's see him first and see how he does at Makushita, because like that Makushita line's a lot harder than most people think it is.
Yeah, there's a reason why Ochi is the only person in history to win the Makushita Yusho when he debuted at Makushita, or the second guy, and then make it up to Juryo in just his second Basho.
Juryo is looking very exciting. I think by the end of the year, we're going to have another half dozen Judo guys just getting some of these older vets out. Like, I mean, first of all, I think this is going to be Tochi Noshin's last tournament. So if let's all get on that right now, because he's not. When he stops drawing salary, he'll be like, I think I'm done. Let's take what's left of this cartilage and go home.
I've been thinking that for Tochi Noshin
Since
for
we
a
started.
while. Like, I thought, okay, he's down to Juryo. That's going to be it. Okay, he just like re-injured his shoulder. Clearly, he's going to pull out of this Basho, fall down to Makushita. I'm not counting Tochi Noshin out. He might retire when he is like 48 or something like that. He's just going to
He turns
keep
into the
going.
new Ikioi with just nothing but tape around every joint and ligament of his entire body.
Yeah, speaking of mummies.
True.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think this might be the year that GSB has to up our Juryo game. Following,
I watch all the Juryo matches.
Well, I just mean we don't cover it that
We
much.
don't cover
we don't
it,
spend
though.
much time talking
Yeah.
about them. But like we got obviously Ochi, we got Tomokaze's back there. We got Shonan Naomi is another guy that's kind of been on a tear.
Atami Fuji.
Yep, Tommy Fuji.
Roga was somebody that we talked about a ways back and is now at his career high rank and will be moving up again to his next career high rank. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of prospects down there that are on fire and look like they're going to be guys that we'll be seeing in the top division pretty quick.
And like also Gonoyama is looking pretty good. He's only 25. There are a few people I see sort of on the way up, but like no one's got the number one with the bullet right now for me,
Except Ochi.
except Ochi. But it's just like I got to see how it like he's going to have a ceiling level and he's going to bounce around. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's up in the like Sanyaku ranks before he's 22.
Yeah, because he's 19 currently.
Think so, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know how old Nakamura is coming in. Once he's on the Bansuke and he has a page on Sumo DB, I'll click on that and find how
I
old
would
he
guess
is.
him out. Yeah,
But
I
I
would
don't-
guess he's probably 24-ish. Yeah.
22, 23, I think. I don't know.
I thought he spent a little extra time post university doing these extra amateur tournaments, but either way, he's still certainly young enough that he's going to be on that same track. So I want to make sure to catch all his matches in May.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping Enho gets another little kick and we get to see him up.
I would love to see Enho back up here.
That would be fun, but I've been just constantly surprised he's still in paid sumo. Like every time I see him on the bus, that's right, Enho's still doing it. Yeah, all right, buddy. Yeah,
He's been working his way back up recently.
He got a 9-6 from Juryo 5, so he's going to be an upper Juryo. He's going to be in the promotable range. again, but yeah, I mean it's weird to me, like the meta that we talk about on GSB quite a bit, where small-ish guys are having a lot of success recently. Guys that are on like the smaller end of normal, but like guys that are way too small, like Enho. Yeah, I mean he just kind of got figured out,
Yeah.
and the top division guys just kicked his ass right back down.
Call it
Yep.
the Harama Fuji line. It's like you got to get up to like 135 kg, and if you're not at least there, it's just one thrust and you're out of the ring.
Yeah.
If they get
Yeah.
the right one, it's just you can't build an Ozeki run on one thrust getting you out of the ring.
Yep. Yeah. So guys
22
like
years old for Nakamura.
all right,
okay.
I stand corrected. Thank you. But yeah,
So
so
then,
like Nishiki Fuji, Midori Fuji, you know, those guys are in particular. I love seeing the small-ish guys get good success there.
Mm-hmm. Is Nishiki Fuji that small? I thought Nishiki Fuji's around like 150.
He's listed at 143 on Sumo
Okay.
DB. So
Oh,
I mean, he's not little, but he's on the small end of like normal. So,
Yeah, he's on the lower end of the curve. But though, like I said, once you get past 135, it seems like that your size isn't as much of a hindrance. I think
Yeah.
like Wakataka Kage is the only guy who's even possibly under that, who was up in the top ranks recently.
yeah, I got Sumo DB has him at 129.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's around the level for me. You got to be hitting you got to be hitting that area otherwise.
And Enho has yet to hit 100. So he's
Well,
just so little.
Hoshoryu's listed at 131, but that's a weight from like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's had to have put on weight since then.
he's been put up.
Hiradomi is below the line.
It looks like
Really?
per the official JSA website, Hoshoryu's at 141 right now.
That
Yeah,
feels-
Okay.
that sounds more like it.
Yeah.
He's definitely continued to bulk as we've seen him solidify
You
his
can
space at the
tell.
top.
It's just I've never seen a sumo wrestler with smaller calves. It's just like he has these tiny chicken wings. It's just like, how are you getting any forward motion on those tiny calves?
You should see r/sumo memes is continuing to grow and be a more fun alternative to r/sumo these days. But there's a video posted there of Ura's calves, and I swear it looks like a bag of potatoes, like in a flesh sack. Like it's
Oh, God.
it's just so ripped and like almost horrifying.
Akin to Takara Fuji's ass.
Yeah, seriously.
The beef shank when you get it medieval times. It's like just eat it.
Oh man.
I think Hokuseiho, yeah, like we talked about him a little bit. I think he's one of those guys where it's like being huge is in fact a strategy that gets you pretty far in sumo, but I just think the level of technique, if you get anyone with any sort of belt technique, he's gonna go out of the ring.
Yeah, when he is easily walked out of the ring by current day Takara Fuji, that sets up a few alarm bells. But it's his first basho in the top division, and he still had a 9-6 record. Hopefully, he can develop the sumo a little bit more. I want to use Mr. JWags real quick to kind of not settle an argument, but just see where he lands on the side of an argument. Jake and I had a little bit on the preview episode, or it might have been the midway for the last basho, where I said I'm just out on Oho. Like he came in, he was a top prospect. I'm done with Oho. I don't think he's going to ever reach Ozeki, a place where we think he could feasibly be an Ozeki at some point. Like I don't think he'll ever be Hoshoryu Kiribayama Wakamoto Haru right now, where he could feasibly be Ozeki. Granted, he's still young. He hasn't had a lot of time in the top division, maybe a year's worth of bashos. I'm completely out. Jake said it's too soon to say that. What are your thoughts on Oho?
I think physically he's an interesting specimen, but it's like I see a distinct lack of, I believe the scientific term is dog in him. Like if we have like body mass to dog in him ratio, it's just like Midori Fuji's clearly on top.
Yeah.
And like Oho's pretty much down near the bottom. It's just I feel like when he feels like he's doing well, he does very well, but I think he gets into his own head a lot. And I think that there are just moments where he gets down on himself and he gets in one of those Onosho-esque spirals where it's like, I'm losing and I can't stop. But fortunately, unlike physical injuries, mental injuries can be overcome at any age. So he is only 23. And the fact that you're 23 regularly in Makauchi it's a bigger deal than I think most people remember. It's like if you are in Makauchi by 22, your future is generally very bright.
May I present to you Hira do Umi?
Yeah. And Hidetoumi, I think he's like the fact that he's 23 and he's a little undersized and is still doing as well as he is. Like I said, 4 years ago, he wouldn't be on the Makuuchi Bansuke. But he's young enough that he can still keep growing a little bit. He could possibly get like to be, Taka Keisho Jr. A little bit. That would be a great name for a band. But yeah, I think he has the ability to make it up into sort of like the Abi realm of like Joy Maegashira, like Hai Maegashira, Low Sanyaku once or twice. I don't see him with the pixie problem because he's so compact. Everyone has to reach downward to get him, so it's just like gotcha. I think his body's a little more conducive to the fight than people like Midori Fuji and Enho, and to a lesser extent Wakataka Kage.
Yeah, I think the arguments that I have that I used to make my point. Yeah, I mean you covered the same bases. Like he's still a baby, and he started out already full size. So like that's very strange, but it was something that helped him rocket through the lower ranks. Not as fast as Hoshoryu, who he started at the same time as, obviously, but yeah, to me, I think it's wild to write somebody off when they're 23 and have only spent a year against the top level of competition here.
I know I'm not predicting great things for him yet. It's like he's at the point, same with Kota Shoho. It's like, now you have to show me something.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot going on that you're still working through. Like, I still think Kota Shoho could make Ozeki, but it's just he needs to figure something. Right now, he's the new Shoda for me. That guy with the blue Mawashi and a vacant stare who's good enough when he's facing your favorite person on a Yusho run. He'll end up
yeah. But hey, I mean, Shodai made Ozeki at 30. So like, he turned this corner where he was this upper Maegashira guy for like, Jesus, like 4 years. And then just suddenly went on a tear and got to be an Ozeki. And obviously, plenty of pro and con arguments there, but he was an Ozeki for like 2 years.
Yeah,
so
barely.
Right at the time when we lost all 4 Yokozuna at the same time.
It's
so ironic that we got all these mediocre Ozeki coming up right when there were no good Yokozuna anymore.
It must be a coincidence. But besides that, I'm just saying that like even if you put him as a Shodai level of personal disappointment or however you want to phrase that, he's got another 7 years before Shodai turned that corner at that, the age that happened. So I don't know. To me, I don't necessarily think he's gonna be at the top, but I think that I can't say otherwise either yet.
People who make Makuuchi as a teen generally either stay in Makuuchi and JDO for their entire career or end up retiring because they got too good. And they were like, I'm an Ozeki, I have to retire. But yeah, and that's why I can't write a Tommy Fuji off, even though he's been looking kind of crappy the last 3 terms. Like, he's 20.
Yeah.
Like, if we had said he just graduated from college and he was in jury, like, yes, he's one of the best. He's great. Let's not worry. Yeah. He's in Terunofuji stable. Like, I think he's in a great situation.
Yeah, Atami Fuji debuted in 2021, so yeah, he's got time. So we'll see. Maybe I am right. No, hold off too soon, but I don't think I am. Are there any other arguments we want Mr. JWags to take a side on?
No,
so we get his official opinion.
Usually these arguments drag out because we don't have a ton of them. Maybe it's just us, like the fact that we talk about sumo amongst ourselves too much, but like we mostly have a lot of the same opinions.
Yeah.
The big one last year was, does Takayasu choke? But I think history has shown that I was on the right side of that argument.
I have a whole bonus episode comparing Takayasu to Pearl Jam in '94.
Ooh.
If you haven't watched that one yet, I think you might enjoy it.
Okay, I'll check that one out.
Yeah, I gotta look at that.
It's a 5-minute quick sidebar I cut out of an episode because it was just making the episode too long and it was too weird. So the question I would actually love to ask you guys, with the influx we are getting with several of the new hot people coming in, I've noticed between like Hokuseiho and Ochiai, a lot of people were worried Nakamura was also going to go with Miyagi no Beya. That's a thing.
There you go, nail it.
Got it.
Are we in? Should there be an intervention so that we don't get, I guess, what you would call like a University of Alabama-esque recruiting class? So we don't end up with like 4 Ozeki from the same stable at the same time. We had 3 Kotos at Ozeki, and it gave them a definite advantage because they didn't have to face 2 of the other best wrestlers in the thing. Do you think that's a thing that that sumo itself should be looking into, or do you think that people should be like, all right, you get to choose wherever you want to go? Because they make the rich richer.
For me, I think that would be very difficult because we can look at Ochi, we can look at Nakamura coming in and say, we think these guys are going to be Ozeki level, but we don't know. And to try to guarantee that they go to a different stable for a problem that we might probably not even probably won't have in 2 to 3 years. Like, I just think it's too hard to predict any of that, to try to control it, and then you're just gonna end up making too many people mad at, like, guys that just maybe he only gets up to Jurio or something like that. And it's like, what was the point of doing all this? Where do you draw the line? How do you draw the line? I think the only thing that you could argue is, all right, you've got 3 Ozeki. You got to ship one of them out somewhere else.
Right. But that's not a bad problem to have at that point. It's like that's a testament back to your stable. It's like, if that's the situation you're forced into, I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I would look at American sports to try and explain where I'm thinking here. The NFL has a salary cap. You know, that's one way that they kind of fix this issue, or attempt to fix this issue. And I think that does some good work in evening out the playing field. But in the NFL, you could just trade somebody on a whim. You know, a guy might retire having played for 6 or 7 teams or something like that. That's not how sumo works. Guys change stables once, if ever, and usually never. And then but what it does for that sport is it produces parity, which is kind of what the goal is for it. Somewhere like baseball, does baseball have a salary cap at all?
They have a luxury tax.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe like the Premier League then, because I know that is just like a money hole. The Premier League in soccer, where like in order to compete with the best teams out there, you got to have more money to pay better players. And again, that's one where you can trade. But if it's a situation where you can't trade, or you're highly, highly discouraged from trading, I think that it's a problem that will probably end up correcting itself. I think it's something where why do you want to go to that stable? And other stables will be like, well, we know why this prospect wants to go there, so we need to replicate some of the things they're doing to draw more prospects here next time.
Well, but unlike the NFL I think the better analog is more college, because we're not everyone in a stable is pro, and you also have a huge difference in the size. Because isn't it like Hakakubeya has like 40 wrestlers, and like Kata Onami has 4?
Yeah.
So obviously, like, once Tamawashi retires, like, who's making money for Kata Onami? I don't know. And at some point, I think I would just be worried about the idea that when you have, obviously we can't know, as Ryan was saying, like, what's going to happen in the future. But obviously, if there were like a sumo draft, there would be number 1 picks. And it feels like Ochi and Nakamura both would have been number 1 picks had they had some sort of sumo draft. But yeah, it's at some point, how do you tell someone, it's like, hey, the place you're spending the rest of your professional life, you don't get to pick it. In fact, you will never get any say on it. And if you really hate your Oyakata, your option is to retire. Sorry.
Yeah. I think I get you. I think that college is a better analog there, because the college will continue to exist whether it has good players or bad players. Maybe some of them will shutter their sports program or what have you. But like, to me, I think that one of the things that draws people to Hakuho and Kisuno Sato's stables, which are the two that are kind of like in an arms race right now, which I love. I personally think it's a great storyline. But some of the things that are drawing them there are modernizing. And I think that that's something that will pressure other stables to at least partially remove the sticks from their butt, and get more modern training, more like I saw a video of Miyagino's stable doing. They have a screen set up where it's just showing what happened in the training ring on like a 30-second delay. That's it. It's just a streams 30-second delay. You get done with your match. You're like, okay, well, what did I do? You go and you watch it. I could do that like now in this room.
Yeah.
I could get that set up, right? So like it's not like mind-blowingly futuristic. It's just something that shows that they want to use everything at their disposal to make wrestlers better.
Mhm.
And I think that I kind of hope that will modernize a
on.
little bit here elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and we know Fleric has shared with us about Nisho no Seki, the former Kisei no Sato, their Bea, like how they are modernizing that as well. Like he shared some pictures of two Rikishi battling, and then they have like cameras like showing their bone structure and stuff and all
Yeah,
that
like
stuff
mocap.
to like to further analyze what they're doing. And I know Kisei no Sato had some more radical for sumo ideas on how to do training and how to modernize that. So yeah, I think if these guys can have a lot of success with recruiting the big names, which they've already done, and if those names go on to do big things like we think and hope they will, hopefully, yeah, that does kind of, like you said, Jake, bring up everybody else.
Raise the bar that much, raises the quality that much higher. It's hopefully good things.
Of course, we're talking about Premier League. There's always going to be someone who's like, Crystal Palace.
Yep. For those not in the know, Crystal Palace sucks. They're just not good.
They just don't spend money, I'm assuming.
That's like the gist, right? Aren't they like one of those permanent relegation threat teams?
I just thought it's because they could never throw stones.
Well, good thing throwing stones is not how you play soccer. So,
thank you, Mr. JWags, for joining us.
Oh yeah, my joke. My joke's the one that's.
we had a good thing going. Okay.
As much as we would like to, we can't get rid of Mac, so we can't just close the episode down when he does something like that.
Hey.
Oh wow. We should probably wrap it up anyways, otherwise we're all going to be here all day and not get anything else done.
JWags has a Sacramento Kings playoff game to watch, which is something that nobody's been able to say for quite a long time.
Nobody's ever really wanted to say it either, I don't think.
Hey, watch it, Vikings fan. I don't think you can talk to me.
Hey, we make it to the playoffs. We don't go very far.
We just don't
but
win, but we make it.
We're guaranteed an NFC championship game once a decade.
Yep.
I'm just saying sometimes it's really nice halfway through the season to be like, all right, see you at the draft.
Fair.
Yeah.
I wish I was given that opportunity. This past season for the Vikings, though, was probably the most entertaining thing that I've seen with all their comebacks.
You mean heart attack inducing?
All I'm gonna say about the Vikings is that being a lifelong fan of that team gives me the right to talk shit about any sports team ever under any circumstance.
Yeah.
You can't hurt me.
Oh no.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. This has been lovely. Yeah, let's do this again sometime.
Absolutely, we will do that. So,
what is your YouTube channel?
Yes.
The channel is the Dohyo Hot Sumo Talk, or you can also look up Mr. JWags channel on YouTube. But yeah, if you check out the Dohyo, we're going to be having our we're going to be having our predictions episode coming up, and I do various quick strike episodes during the Ba show, so you don't want to miss that. So please like and subscribe and hit the bell, or don't.
What was that gesture again? Is that a cobra?
Cobra.
Love it.
All right. So if you enjoyed this podcast, you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service. You can send us any comments, questions, or corrections to grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com. You can check us out on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. All of those are Grand Sumo Breakdown. Or Mac, what is our phone number that people can reach us if they want to leave us a voicemail?
You can give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
He turns into a used car salesman when you ask him to do that.
Because that's how I recorded it the very first time. So it's like, I have to go back to the way I recorded it.
Just have to do it.
I have to do it.
So
that was 6 years ago.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. JWags. Best of luck to you in your run as Willy Wonka and Tarzan's father, who tragically passes away at the beginning of the play.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, rest in peace. Rest in peace, JWags, every other night for the next few months.
Yeah.
Sitting backstage, drinking my Gatorade, waiting for Act 2.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.